organizing the event. This is a 72-year-old movement, not just an organization, but it is a movement whose aim is to unify the MSMEs in the HVACR segment. This movement is the voice of all the spokes that form the wheel of the HVAC and R field in our country, with an emphasis on micro, small, and medium enterprises. It could be a manufacturer, a trader, or a service provider. It lets the business people focus on their business and it solves their issues both at national and regional levels. The movement has added a lot of firepower in the past decade or so, increasing its strength rapidly, both in its numbers and its representation to the government. This movement, should you choose to become a part of it, will only move your business from green to the greener. With respect to our Bangalore chapter, we are relatively a young chapter with a strength of just shy of 50 members. We believe that we will be the voice of this entire fraternity and we shall move forward in good stead successfully. Moving on, we have with us today the founder and CEO of the Aura Leadership Foundation, a man whose business operations span 4 continents, whose mission is to improve, empower, and energize people to produce peak performances. I present to you Mr. JVC Sriram. Welcome, sir. Having clocked a staggering 100,000 hours of training people across the globe, he is one of the most powerful speakers of this entire world. He has been retained by top-notch corporates to build effective sales teams and has also developed path-breaking training modules to help sales professionals across the globe. He is a social worker and a trustee of 2 charitable trusts engaged in providing support to underprivileged children. We thank you for your service, sir. I'm certain that by the end of this session, all of us attending this event will realize that why Mr. JVC Sriram is one of the most effective communicators in this entire world. Mr. Sriram, I hand over the presentation to you now. Thank you so much.
Would it be possible for me to share the screen?
Yeah, you can share the screen.
Yeah, I can share the screen. Okay. So good evening to one and all, those joining on Zoom and also on the YouTube. It's my pleasure to be addressing the Rata members and all others here. I guess the Refrigeration and Air Conditioning Traders Association, Bangalore, is hosting the event, but I guess most people from different parts of the country are joining in both the Zoom and the YouTube part of it. So this session is going to be for 45 to 50 minutes. I'll be keeping it, and I would keep the last 15 to 20 minutes open for question and answer, an interactive Q&A session, and questions can be posted in Zoom and also on the YouTube. I have kept the YouTube also open on the comment section, so if people can ask questions there also, I would be more than glad to answer. Now, I think as I start this seminar or webinar, whatever way you want to call, the truth of the matter is nobody wanted this, nobody expected this. It was a bolt from the blue for all of us. But I read in 10th standard, I don't remember much, I'm not a great academic success, but I read in the 10th standard book, Lord Tennyson writing a poem, which I still remember, where it said, "The old order changeth, yielding place to new, and God fulfills himself in many ways, lest one good custom should corrupt the world." Because no one good system, even if the system was good, it can corrupt as it ages. So I think COVID-19 or coronavirus, whatever we want to call, had come and hit us, and coming from China, I think it has kept its socialistic color intact, because not a single part of the world, not a soul on this world has managed to escape from the impact, either directly or indirectly. And COVID has been of that kind. So when such a pandemonium hits, now what do we do? What do we adjust? Because I'm writing a book, I've completed the book actually, and the title of the book is supposed to be No Reference Point. There is absolutely no reference point to look at what is the pandemonium which we are staring, which have arisen because of this pandemic. Even governments are not having the capacity because they never had this kind of capacity to face this kind of calamity. Now, governments are expected to administer on regular times. Crisis comes. We have seen tsunami. Chennai had seen tsunami. Tamil Nadu had seen tsunami. We have seen cyclones. We have seen earthquakes. We have seen 9/11 attack. We have seen 26/11 attack. So many things we have seen. But look at all these things. Either it happened in one geography, it happened for a short period of time. This is not something which we have seen. This is not HIV. This is not dengue. The only reference point which probably we can have is 1918 Spanish flu. And there is no connection between Spanish flu and COVID-19 fundamentally because the world is completely transformed. Two farthest points in the world, what happens? One is in China, another is in Argentina. They're separated by 19,800 kilometers, if I'm right. Information can spread in a matter of seconds in today's world. But a century ago, this was not the world. The world has completely changed. It is not what it was, as a result of which there is absolutely no reference point to what has happened. Considering this, what does individuals do? What do businesses do? Lockdown was good, lockdown was bad. We don't know. Many people are saying it's great to have had the lockdown. Otherwise, things would have been horrible. There are people who are saying, no, lockdown has destroyed the economy. We don't know. Some of the industries will have to take a long time to reinvent itself. I will be sharing those also from a survey which I had access to just today morning. So let me straight away get on with the, I'm just sharing the screen right away now. So considering the fact that MSMEs were one of the badly affected sectors, and we have MSMEs right here today. So we'll be covering several aspects, but let us understand this size of the pandemonium which has hit us can either be called as danger, but danger itself has got two meanings in Mandarin. One is crisis, or crisis itself has got two meanings. One is danger, another is opportunity. We can either look at this as an absolute calamity which has hit the world and see how we can recover, or this is the time to show resilience. This is the time to show what we can do from this pandemonium. Take it as an opportunity. Opportunity for what, Sriram? Opportunity for several things. For several things which had to be corrected, which never got corrected. And we can correct that now. And in your own industry, because in your own industry, let me tell, all the MSMEs, let me tell, all the MSMEs, in fact, in the book, I've written an exact statement. The problem with MSMEs is not today. The problem with MSMEs has been there for decades together. No one government can be blamed for the fate of MSMEs. But only thing is, COVID-19 has highlighted the challenges which MSMEs are facing. Because fundamentally, they take orders at the lowest margin and the highest credit. If you are an MSME, please type in the chat box, yes, if what I'm saying is right, either right or yes. Tell me if I'm right. If I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. Traditionally, conventionally, MSMEs are given their products and services at the lowest price. The vendors have negotiated at lowest price. Their debt service ratio is so much so that if they operate their factories, if they operate their services at 90% capacity, and if they pay the EMIs on time, MSMEs, when did they have money to take back home? All the time they've been only trying to service the loans, and this is an opportunity which has come to highlight the plight of MSMEs in this country. So as a result of which, I think at this point in time, we have to look at what is the opportunity which is coming. What are the kind of opportunities we are going to face? And how are we going to handle it? And how are some of the companies handled it? As I'm talking, because last week webinar, I had shared some of them, maybe there, but maybe the only repetition. But I would like that to be a repetition, because I think it has to go into us that amidst all this pandemonium, there are companies which are growing at 25%. There's a company in India which has grown by 25% at the same time as this pandemonium has hit. It's a public limited company. At the same time in the pandemonium, Walmart has grown by 8% and its ancillary Sam's Club has grown by 16%. What they have done? What have they done to grow so fast? Now, let us look at it. The first thing which you need to understand is, it is true that we don't know what will happen tomorrow. We don't know. In China, already the second wave has come. Already the South Korea second wave has come. Iran second wave has come. Chennai has gone into a lockdown again. And lockdowns will continue to happen. So we don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. But we do know what we can do today. What we can do today? Change. Change is the name of the game. We got to change. That which does not change does not grow. That which does not grow dies. Later in the session, I would also share why people, although people go to the podium and talk about change in a big way, but at the feelings level, we accept change. But in the actions, when it comes, people are still not very comfortable to accept the change. So what can we now do today? We don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. We don't know when the next lockdown is going to come, or will there be a second wave? We don't know when the vaccine is going to come. And those of them who are thinking that vaccine is coming in September, so I'm relaxing now. By September, things will be all right. Vaccine will come and then I will start my business. I'm sorry, my dear gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. All the specialists, healthcare specialists whom I have spoken with for my book, they've told me one thing: you can't fast track healthcare. You can never fast track healthcare. For a vaccine to get developed, it takes years together. And even if you fast track in the best possible manner, you can't do it in less than 18 months. So you can't expect vaccine to come and then I will change. No, we got to change now. Yes, there are companies which are fast tracking the research and fast tracking the vaccine. I just want to share an information with you, because there's a lot of talk going on. Whomever I'm talking with is saying only one thing: no, vaccine will come and we'll be all right. Vaccination for the entire world to be vaccinated will take years. And there was a vaccine for cervical cancer. In Western countries, they did not allow, because there are strict policies and terms and conditions. India did not have such kind of conditions, as a result of which in India, they allowed the vaccine to be tested. And do you know what happened? Several people died. And several of them are still in the hospital struggling. And the people who brought out the vaccine have been or out of the business. And they spend time in jail. So you can't. So change we got to now, not after the vaccine comes, and vaccine is not going to come immediately. And I don't know whether virus can die and go into the thin air like that. That also is not going to happen. So it's extremely important and critical that we decide to change right now. And how do I change? And this is one story which I would always love to share. And this is what I'm going to share with the Rata members today. There was an young boy, 15-year-old boy, who was stuck in the forest. It was evening time. The sun was setting, and holding a lantern in his hand, he was standing still, neither moving forward nor moving backward. An old man was passing by, came to this boy and asked him, "Beta, what are you doing here? This is forest. Animals will start coming, and you better move." The boy, with worry and sadness on his face, anxiety on his face, looked at the old man and said, "Uncle, my house is 20 miles away, and the lantern which I'm holding in my hand can give me light only for the next 200 meters. I don't know how I'm going to reach 20 miles when I can see only 200 meters. That's the reason why I'm worried and I'm standing here." The old man said, "Beta, walk for the next 200 meters. When you walk the next 200 meters, you can see another 200 meters. From there you walk, keep walking every 200 meters, and that is the only way you will reach 20th mile." And the old man said, the statement of JP Morgan, who said it several centuries ago, 2 centuries ago, if I'm right, when he said, you can go as far as you can see, and from there, you can see further. The truth is that we also don't know. Don't get into long-term thinking. This is not the time for the long-term thinking. This is the time to think short-term. This, in fact, the director of Microsoft, when he had a conversation with me, he was telling me, Sriram, in Microsoft, we used to have 6 months, 8 months priorities, and we'll be working for the next 8 months. But today, we have compressed. It is all about this week, aaj kya karna hai, abhi kya karna hai, isi waqt kya karna hai. That has to be done. So that's the next one which we need to keep in mind. And let us also understand what looks like an unfavorable event today would turn into the biggest turning point of your life in future if we use this moment with prudence. This is the time for MSMEs to change. And where the change is, I will tell you. This is the time where the industries have to change. I still remember I was doing a keynote speech at Goa, and coming to know that I have my operations in UK and Kenya. One of the gentlemen asked me, why is it that most Indians like you have and other operations in some other countries? Why do you have to go there? Why can't you just be in India alone? I said, good question, but I'm giving you a straight answer onto your face. Globally, in most countries, businesses understand that for a vendor to survive, he needs to make profits. They don't squeeze. And being profitable, running a profitable industry is the only way by means of which people can serve, is known by most companies abroad. But unfortunately in India, they want to squeeze the supplier and the vendor to the last point. And as a trader, this happens many a times. And that's the reason why, as a contingency, I always have international operations. And also a few more reasons I gave. But the truth of the matter is, this turning point can become a point where, as an industry, as an association, because why are associations formed? I know pretty well, most of you, I should not be using the word, but I'm using, most of you are selling refrigerators, air conditioners, and related products. And if you look at from outside, you may be competitors. You may be having your offices in the same street and roads. But you come together as an association because to collaborate, to lobby with the government, to ensure that together as a force, we can play a role. Now, that is the time now. This is the time where businesses will have to start thinking, I cannot survive without margins. I cannot survive by giving 250 days credit, by giving 350 days credit. Sriram, do we give that? I think so. I think so. And who are those people who are taking those kind of credit? Large companies. In the name of giving you a big order. Oh my goodness, it's a 2 crore order. Okay, so come karo. You keep on, cost cutting is like onion. You keep on peeling the skin of onion. Finally, what will you get? You will get nothing. And this has been the fate of Indian industries for a long time. Corona has given us a time to think in these lines, that if I don't make profits, I will not be able to run my business. The pause, it's a big pause, the great pause. This is called the great pause, the entire lockdown period. Most of us have just opened our businesses in the last few weeks. This is a time where clearly to say, okay, this is like restarting my business. Probably you're running a family business which had been founded by your grandfather 70 years ago. But as you open your shops today, as you open your businesses today, literally speaking, we are all restarting. We are all rebooting. Now we are going to think as if I'm starting my business today. And that's the turning point I'm talking about. I'm starting it today. I didn't run the business several years ago. It's the starting point. Fresh start, fresh rules, new rules of the game. Let's do that. And if we do that, this will become a turning point. If we continue to do old practices, no. So that's what I'm asking. No point looking either behind or too far. What is the thing to ask? What next? And be a doer now. We got to be a doer. Doer in what? Doer in making the trend as your friend. No point in swimming against the tide. Make the trend as your friend. It's the trend which has got to be. What is the trend now? Trend is today. What is the trend saying? What is it saying? Let's figure out that. What is the biggest mantra? What are the big companies teaching us? What can we learn from them? What are the most successful companies doing now? The mantra is pre-corona, survival of the fittest. Post-corona, survival of the fastest, quickest, and the swiftest. Whoever is going to change the quickest, it's not about thinking. It's not, okay, I'm analyzing. I'm looking at it. I'm waiting for enough data to come so that I can take a decision. No, my dear friend. My dear friend, it's not. Decisions have to be taken aaj, azi, abhi, isi waqt. Changes have to happen immediately. But some things can go wrong. Yes, companies have allowed, have encouraged people to take quick decisions, knowing pretty well that some decisions will go wrong. You may just say, okay, if you are expecting me to give you 60 days credit, I've decided not to supply. This may turn out to be a wrong decision, but you're taking a decision. You're taking a decision. Because what the margins the MSMEs are doing business with is very thin margin. And let me tell you, post-corona, the cost of business is going to go up only. If anybody tells you the cost of business is going to come down, they're actually fooling us around. They're actually fooling us around. So it's the survival of the fastest, survival of the quickest, and the survival of the swiftest to change. And this is also the time to have an open, honest conversation with the employees about the change. Some of you might have to cut salaries. You might have to. And for employees, but they have to say, okay, fine, you are a co-owner. At this point in time, if we do not cut salaries by 15% or 20%, then khel khatam, dukhan band. So you have to communicate. That's also a change I'm talking about. And companies which have been able to bring about that change in the fastest possible manner have been the companies and are the companies and will be the companies who will emerge as a winner. I didn't wait for it. I'm not a seasoned author. I've written one book which is yet to be published. But then I felt this is the time to change. Let me write. Let me not just be a passive watcher of COVID-19. Let me put across my point. Let me see what is that value addition I can give to the world. From just speaking, I ventured into writing. And it all happened. And in 2 months, I was able to complete a book. I've never ever done webinar training. I've never ever done online training. And April 9th, it all changed. So it's about the fast changes, quick changes, and who all have done it. I will give you some examples before we actually move into the change and why people are so much bothered about the change, which is what I want everyone to actually focus upon. Because why people are, when the change comes, there is a pain. Why is that pain? I will explain to you so that we all understand what it is we are talking about. Walmart, a spinning mill in Tanuku, United Phosphorus Limited. There's another company called Seedworks, the entire seed industry. Go to the stock market and see. Go, Kaveri Seeds is one of the listed companies. And why is it shooting up? Because they're doing well. Because essential commodity. And they changed. And they're doing well. And Medica Hospital. I will first start with Medica Hospital. I'll go on the reverse and then let's see. Medica Hospital is a group of hospitals from Calcutta. Chain of 11 hospitals. And I had a chance of having conversation with the co-owner and the co-founder of the hospital. He says by 18th of February, a decision was taken that we will not operate the way in which we'll be operating. This virus, which is when Trump was here and the whole country was celebrating, these guys sat in the boardroom because their investors are from Hong Kong. They got an information that this virus is not going to spare any country. So what did they do? In a matter of 4 days, they decided, okay, the first thing we will do is we'll start screening patients. We will test for the fever. When the country had not decided, when the government had not decided, by 18, they decided, and 22nd, you see this. You see on the left side and you see on the right side. Within 4 days, February 22nd, they changed. People asked them, are you fools? Why are you guys changing all these things now? They said, no, we can't have the old method of working. And they identified, they quickly figured out, that time I think ISHRAE did not even come out with guidelines, because I'm talking about February 3rd or 4th week. So they went to ASHRAE and downloaded the ASHRAE document in terms of what they should do in air conditioning, how they should modify the HEPA filters and all those stuff. And they did everything. And as expected, by March 15th, pandemic was announced by WHO. And these guys were actually taking in patients, but whoever was a suspect, they were sent to the government hospital. But by the time they got ready, the 5th floor of the Kolkata hospital was already ready to take COVID patients. And by the 3rd week of March, their occupancy levels fell down to 20%. 20%. The revenues are gone. And almost most hospitals were closed down. By the 2nd week of April, 1st week, end of April, the chief secretary of West Bengal called these guys, all these hospital owners in Kolkata, and asked them, who is ready to take COVID patients? The first hospital which was ready in the entire country. In fact, I don't know how I happened to meet this gentleman, because even before Apollo and others took, they started taking it. And they said, okay, 5 hospitals out of the 11 are now taking in COVID patients. So what happened when all the other hospitals were closed down? Some of them were closed down in Orissa, in Jharkhand, and in West Bengal. These guys were operating. They're saying that, yes, we have not made great profits. A liver transplant bill will never be equal to a COVID-19 bill, but we have been able to keep our head above the water because we brought about those changes very swiftly. It is not the survival of the best hospital. It is the survival of the hospital which is going to be the fastest to change. I have Kim's Hospital near my house. And I know a few people who go there for dialysis, and I ask them, have they changed? No, they have not changed it. Now you see the same industry. The laggards are the ones who are going to lose. And the laggard might have been somebody who had been 50 years old, 60 years old. Medica is only 10 years old as an hospital group. In 10 years, they built 11 hospitals. Why? Because ability to change. And 500 patients, COVID patients were treated, and only 4 of them died in Medica because they had already taken all the precaution which was necessary. One more reason why you should be doing seed work. Same is the case. The biggest example I can think of is UPL, United Phosphorus Limited. United Phosphorus Limited wanted to open the factories. They did everything. And they went to the government in Gujarat where they have the factory. And they quickly realized that even though they are manufacturing essential commodity, which is agrochemicals, which is required for the fertilizer and seeds, they realized quickly that the entire district has run out of sanitizer. Sanitizer was not available anywhere. So one idea struck one of this guy. And he went to the collector's office and told them, look, we are not a sanitizer manufacturing company, but we're a chemical company. We're an agrochemical company. We now know the recipe of making a sanitizer from WHO site. We have downloaded it. Allow us to open the factory with 15% capacity, and what we will do is we will supply sanitizer for the entire district to you guys. Allowed. Opened the key. Business started. The company is growing by over 25%. Why? They brought massive changes were brought. Decisions that decentralized, localized. They gave advance payment to vendors, saying that we need this and we will get you the permission, get it done. I covered this as a case study in my book. No, that's the reason. A small spinning mill in a small town called Tanuku, the owner of that says, Sriram, you know what? Because I don't hire guest workers, I give employment only to the local people. Tanuku was a town where not much affected by COVID-19. So we were allowed to open the factory. We opened the factory and I started producing with a lot of changes. Two biggest clients who have never given business to us. For the last 7 years, we've been chasing. And because they were not able to get yarn from anywhere else, they were willing to pay advance payment. But I didn't jack up the price much. Sold at a reasonable profit margin, but got the advance payment and supplied on time, as a result of which two customers who have never been with me are with me and they paid in advance. Now things are changing. This is an industry where the supply used to be too much and demand was lesser because too many players were there. But when it came down, customers were willing to pay advance payment and take the goods. Now this is what will happen. If together as an industry we say, okay, fine, let's change the credit period. We can't operate with 90 days credit. We can't operate with 180 days credit. Without cash flow, we are gone. Because for a business, three things are very important: turnover, cash flow, and profit. And if the cash flow is not there, we're gone. And most of the businesses today which are closing down because of cash flow problems. Startups are a big problem because startups do not have cash flow. And MSMEs have a problem because of lack of cash flow. Cash is the king. In fact, I say cash is the queen, king, ace. Jack, queen, king, ace. If you're playing, cards, that's how it is. And if it is about a small company, what about a massive company of Walmart size? Why I'm saying is you have to take, I don't know what decisions you have to take because I can't tell what decisions you have to take. But I'm seeing that companies are taking quick decisions, implemented things very fast, executed things at a rapid speed, and did not wait for others to change. Those were the companies which were able to, those were the organizations, those were the institutions which were able to bounce back and bounce back very big time bounce back stories. Walmart, something which would have normally taken minimum 6 months. What did they do? They quickly realized, hey, as the cases are increasing, by third week of March, because in US, it came like a, I don't know, I wouldn't even say, it was a tsunami. Because the cases started first week of March, tuck, then suddenly it was 8,000, 10,000, 12,000. What we are seeing today, US saw in the second week of March. They quickly realized that a lot of people are getting exposed, senior citizens are getting exposed, and they coming into the store is going to create a bigger problem for everybody. So they came out with the concierge service. App was developed within 5 days, which would have normally taken 3 to 6 months time. This is there in the news media. And what did they do? Is if anybody who wants to use these services can bring their car, make the booking of what they want, all the items in the app which they have between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they come and stop the car outside the Walmart store, 600 stores of Walmart. Outside the stores they stop, and then there is somebody who will pick up all the items and come. Payment is done, absolutely touchless shopping, and 16 minutes flat. That's the time taken for a customer from the time he places the order in the app and the time it gets delivered into his car is flat 16 minutes. Walmart says they've never seen this kind of growth anytime else. COVID was not an unfavorable event for Walmart. COVID turned out to be the turning point. And for Sam's Club, which is like the Metro, the wholesale retailer of Walmart, is reporting 16% growth. Now, what are all these things saying? All these things are only saying one thing: it's the survival of the fastest, survival of the quickest, and the survival of the swiftest. And what all things? Probably a few things. And make the trend your friend. And change has to happen. But Sriram, you're talking about change. So what happens? For your benefit, this particular slide I've kept it for a simple benefit, which I'll be coming to it in the next few minutes' time. But I want to cover this also because which sector do you want to supply? Which sector you want to hold? Because where there is cash, and where there is cash, you can go. Because if you notice very carefully, I don't know across the country it is happening. There are certain sectors where the cash is coming quicker than expected. So if you see the number of months after the lockdown, within 3 to 4 months' time, education, skilling, and training is going to come back to its feet completely. That's what this survey says. Consumer retail would take around 3.58 months. And power, 3.65. Chemicals, 3.95. Financial services, 4.54. Now, these are sectors. Now, your customer portfolio must have these sectors. Next, midterm recovery sectors are apparel and textiles is going to take some time. Consumer durables is going to take some time. Management consulting, yes, it's going to take a little bit of time. I'm also into consulting. I'm also into training, and I'm also into consulting. Consulting is going to take a little bit of time. Metals and mining is going to take more than 6 months from the time of lockdown, okay? It's not about the vaccine. It's about electronics is taking 6.46, but there is another category in electronics which is shooting up in a big way. There are two things which are shooting up in a big way, but it's a very temporary demand. I don't see it as a permanent demand. If you noticed, in Hyderabad, there's a place called Chennai Trading Center, which is actually the IT, place where laptop and desktops and iPads, mobile phones will be sold. Now, last 4 days, it's been like a fish market there because every student has to study from online. So this is the customers whom you have to look at. Now, who are the customers where probably you're not going to follow up, you're not going to go with, you're not going to service at this point in time because payments are going to take a lot of time, is your hospitality and restaurants, even restaurants but there are few who have some innovation. Because you're from Karnataka, I'm not sure whether you've seen it or not. In Coorg, there is already a resort which is now coming out saying that, hey, 10-day workathon. Okay? It's called as basically workation. So what they're saying is combine your vacation and work, come in a car with your own headsets. We will provide you a workstation, breakfast, lunch, dinner, coffee, tea, everything. Work from a resort. That's all coming, but it's a very, very small portion. Airlines and travel, because that's going to take what? More than that, much, much more than that. Automobile, it's an extremely stressed sector, will take a lot of time. In fact, they're saying around 18 months it will take. Building and construction, 7.74, particularly on the commercial side. On the residential side, we're expecting activities to happen, but commercial side is going to take time. So, and handicrafts may take a little more time. So your customer portfolio, whom are you going to go with? These are the changes which you have to make. Oh, I've been supplying all the time to hotels and resorts. Now you got to quickly change. You have to get into relationship marketing mode. You have to find out whether there are people who are into financial sectors, chemicals and power companies. These are agriculture companies. Agriculture companies have already come back. So this is only a trend. So what this shows is you will have to change your process. You will have to change your customer target market. Whom are you targeting? And you will have to change the credit period. And you will have to change your employees' mindset too. And all this will have to happen very quickly. Make the trend your friend. You are probably supplying to automobile companies a lot, the dealers a lot. It's going to take time. But used car business is going to pick up. And you're going to have, somebody has to come, some pan-India player might come into used car business because statistics show that normally for every 100 new cars sold, 30 used cars used to be sold. But going forward, for every 100 new cars sold, there will be 170 to 180 used cars sold because people don't want to travel through public transportation. So even if they cannot afford a new car, brand new car, they may afford a used car. So changes across the board, changes across the spectrum. So I'm going to quickly define change. What is change? Why change? How change? But all this is not required at this point in time because change has already come. But what do you need to do? I'm going to look at that. I'm not going to explain too much because I just have 10 to 15 minutes time before we open up for the question answer sessions. So What I want to do is now, quickly, I want to run when there are 4 scenarios of change. And I want to just explain at what point in time you will have to look at what change, which is what we are looking at. So I'll quickly run through that. One model is, if you want to grow, you have to change, like the GE model. This is called as the Jack Welch model. So I want to grow by 12 digit, double digit. I want to grow by 20%. I want to grow by 13%, 15%, 25%. Now for that, I need to change. Now this is post-COVID-19 situation. When we are getting out of the COVID, I want you to think in this angle and you have to change. Number 2, market has changed or is changing. Change becomes a matter of survival right now. Aaj abhi isi waqt. Otherwise, kale khatam, dukan band. iPhone had already come. Android had already come. Nokia had 40% market share. No problem. We will still survive. No problem. We are too big to fall. It took just 2 years to come down from 40% of the market share, global market share, to on the verge of being bankrupt. The situation too. So this is what is applied now. If I don't change, kale khatam dukan band. In my own training industry, there are people who are still unable to migrate to online trading. Why? Because they've not built their social media. As a result of which, they don't have enough followers. So as a result of which, when they move online, they don't know where to find the market. And if they have to go to the corporate companies, which have been the source of income, corporate companies are not going to hire training immediately. It's going to take some time for the B2B business to come. It is the B2C business which will pick up. So they're not able to focus. They're not able to give value addition. Week on week, they don't have topics to speak on. And hence, they're looking at, no, vaccine will come, physical training will start. By September, it will start. Then we will start our business. Kale khatam, dukan band. Nothing else. But Sriram, I'm in a growing industry. Like I'm in a pharma. Still you have to change. No, the guys who are now really making money are the guys who are into healthcare. Like say, the guys into healthcare, ancillary healthcare, like selling masks, sanitizer. But they're also finding it difficult. Because the principal company is not changing. 3M is supplying to XYZ at a different price, but the authorized distributor is not getting it. So now they have to even change. And then COVID-19 will always bring in another thing which is not here, is the game changer. Somebody comes, changes the way the rules of the game is played, like how Apple changed the mobile industry, how Reliance Jio is bringing up the disruption. Some disruptions will happen even in every industry. Every industry disruption will happen. But Sriram, you're talking about all these things, but still change, why is it painful? Yeah, that's what I'm coming to. Before change, there is comfort. After change, there is comfort. But the process of change is always uncomfortable. Before change, comfortable. After change, comfortable. But the process of change is always, always, always uncomfortable. And that's what we need to look at. Let me give you a simplest of example. Let me not go too far and too ahead. Before we learned cycling, aram se we were walking as an young kid, going to the shop and buying chawal and all those things and coming back. And it took 10 minutes. One day, your dad decided to teach us cycling. And we sat on top of cycle and somebody held our seat and we kept shaking, moving around, blah, 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 all those difficulty. First day, second day, that somebody was holding the hand left and immediately our cycle skid and we fell down and blood came all out. And seeing me falling down, seeing you falling down, that young girl who was standing there started laughing. Dukhta hai. Yeah, where it hurt, it was paining, but more pain because of the girl looking and smiling. There was a bigger pain. So the process of change was uncomfortable. But once you learned cycling, what took probably 15 minutes, now you are able to complete it in 3 minutes or 4 minutes. And one day, as you're cycling back, You saw the same girl who laughed at you when you fell down, walking on the opposite direction. So what did you do? You left both your hands and whistled past her, and you got your first girlfriend. And this is a different comfort altogether. There is a difference between a walking comfort and there is a difference to a cycling comfort. Go and ask any banker, particularly Andhra Bank, because I was involved with that particular operation. And Andhra Bank used to have people who were at that point in time, I'm talking about 2010, when they moved from legacy banking to core banking. And almost all of them, and R.S. Reddy, who was the chairman at that point in time, said, now I have to move into core banking before Canara Bank, before Syndicate Bank, before State Bank of India, before any other bank gets into core banking. I want to get into core banking because if I'm right, in 130 years, Andhra Bank, it took 130 years for Andhra Bank to touch a turnover of business of 1 lakh crore. In the next 18 months, the chairman R.S. Reddy decided by the time he gets out, he had an 18-month tenure and he wanted to make that business into 1,50,000 crore. And he knew pretty well the only way out is credit, only way out is opening more branches, only way out is core banking. And he said, every branch which gets into core banking as quickly as possible, within so much of weeks' time, he gave a target. They'll be given, employees will be given 1 gram gold. There are people who are saying, what 1 gram gold? My son is in London, daughter is in New York, already diabetes and hypertension is there. And at the age of 56, I have to come and do all these work. This was the situation. And they had to work for 12 hours, 14 hours. And all we've seen, many of them are 50 plus people. And we had to run a lot of change management workshop for them. It was extremely uncomfortable. But once they moved from legacy to core banking, it was magic. This comfort was different. Bankers themselves started saying, hey, at end of the day, no calculation, no tallying, no writing down everything. No problem. And customers are also happy. They can deposit checks in any place. They can withdraw money in any branch. Now, this is a different comfort. My dear friend, pre-COVID, we were comfortable. Post-COVID, we will be comfortable. The process of change during COVID is going to be uncomfortable. What change we are talking about? Changing your customer model. Convincing your employee that he has to work hard now, but he has to take a salary cut. Making him feel that he's going to, but at the same time, there's also a wonderful opportunity. Jobs are not available everywhere, so he's not going to go out. So this is the time to create a bonding where the employee takes ownership and works for you, works with you, and feels as if he's the owner of the company. And for you also to bring those practices. Think like a large company, a bigger company, and make it happen. And more importantly, make that friend your friend. Together, as business owners, think, hey, if we are together, we can fight it out. If we are not united, we will get swallowed by the big fish. And we have seen already. Voltas had a massive factory. I used to train in Voltas everywhere from 2003 to 2009-10. I used to train. What happened to Voltas refrigerators? They kept manufacturing for LG. They kept manufacturing for Samsung. Okay, in the unit in Sanat Nagar. And labeling LG, Samsung, they were selling. And one day, silently, LG and Samsung were setting up their own factories. And once it was ready, now they've got a big residential complex at the Sanat Nagar factory where Voltas used to stand, an iconic place. Hyderabad Alvin became Voltas, and Voltas is now Lodha. It's a Lodha apartment. And LG and Samsung captured the market. I'm not against LG or Samsung, but I'm saying, together coming and saying, okay, let us redefine our credit period. Let's not work on massive cuts of working with 0.5% margin, 1% margin. The cost is going to go up. Healthcare cost is going to go up. Everything, the cost of business is going to go up. As a result of which, the changes have to be brought. Then your target customers, you got to change your target customers, because you can't Because I know a lot of MSMEs who used to sell, okay, some companies just come, startups come, startups don't have money. So now I have to look at the brick and mortar companies. I have to look at the different customer portfolio. I have to look at the value addition. I want to become an expert. I can no more think like a trader. People will come to you. If you're selling an air conditioner, you must be able to go on YouTube and talk about why people should come to you. I did a webinar on image management for business owners itself a couple of weeks back. And you got to go out and say, okay, why should I come to you? You should come to me because I not only sell an air conditioner, but I'll also tell you which is the best air conditioner for your requirements, which can save energy. Become an expert. And once you do that, we'll be in a position to win in the marketplace. So before change, there was comfort. After change, there will be comfort. The process of change is always uncomfortable. But the change which you see after will certainly be better than the change, the comfort which you had before the change. So that's the context. COVID-19 has come. We don't know how long it is going to stay. We don't know when the vaccine is going to come. We don't know that there will be a second wave or a third wave. But only thing we know is we have a work to do. We have the one thing to do, which is to change the way we operate. In fact, I was putting a message to my mentor a couple of days back. I said, the last 90 days, I don't know that I've worked so hard in my life as much as I've worked in the last 90 days. That's a change. I came exactly on the 20th of March to India from Kenya. I was stuck in Nairobi, caught one of the last available flights and landed here on the March 20th morning. And today is June 20th. It's exactly 3 months. Everything about my aspect of life has changed, courtesy COVID. So what's happening? If you change before, so this comfort, the pain will be not for a longer time. So I've changed right in the beginning itself. So what has happened? So yeah, initially first few sessions were uncomfortable. Even now chasing payments is a little uncomfortable. But I'm ready because I'm already seeing change. We don't have to wait for the COVID to go to enjoy the different comfort, the positive comfort, if we change quicker. So tonight, think about what changes you need to bring in the business. Because world will talk about the change means they will talk about social distancing, mask, and all those stuff. I'm talking about here, mindset. Number one, the way we operate, the credit terms, the margins with which we operate, the customers with whom we operate, the employees, the way we treat them, because we need empathy now. Because we need to take care of the employees too. Even if you have to say, in fact, I have to share this story. I don't want to name anybody here. I got a call from one of the general manager of a company. The CEO and the owner of the company is a good friend of mine, and the GM is also a good friend of mine. The GM called me up and said, Sriram, I need a favor from you. I know you're not a recruiter. I said, I'm not a recruiter. But unfortunately today, our friend, CEO's name, he said, we had to lay off few people. And he asked me to convey the decision to them because he has taken the decision and I have conveyed. And as I conveyed, I promised every one of them that unfortunately, we are unable to continue our association. But once things get better, certainly, you are welcome to come back. But you're going to serve the 1 month notice period. In this 1 month notice period, me and my CEO will do everything possible to see whether you can get placed in another company, in another sector. And they quickly figured out, and he told me, Sriram, can you help this person? I said, I can't, but what I can do is I can put it in a few of my groups where they can probably help them out. And I forwarded it. And suddenly one insurance broking company said, we are looking for people because there is because insurance is something which is growing big. So this lady actually got a job. Now think about it. Even when they're laying off an employee, the CEO and general manager or saying, we will try to help you to get a job. Now, isn't this an amazing change of mindset? And what would happen to the employee? The employee, even though he or she is going out of this company, would still be grateful for what they have done. This is the time for empathy. This is the time to treat your employees as your family members, as your stakeholders. As much as your employees should also understand that, yes, together we have to fight it out. I think if those of you who have seen this movie, you should see it. If you see it once again, and those who have not seen should see it. There's a movie called Coach Carter, in which, in somewhere in the middle of the movie, in the first half, our first 33rd or 34th minute, if I'm right, there's a dialogue where one of the players would say, when one man loses, the team loses. One man triumphs, the team triumphs. Now that's what every employee should feel, that I belong to this team. You got to do something for them, and they got to do something for you. It's a two-way traffic. This is not the time to shout. Big companies have said, don't go to your employee and tell them, get it done now. Are you comfortable? You know pretty well the consequences. When do you think you can give it? I know pretty well you're working from home and there are a few things which you're doing. And when do you think it's comfortable for you? And most of the employees are going back to the manager and saying, sir, you will be able to give it to you in so and so time. Productivity levels have gone up. The CEO of Seedworks, Mr. Venkat, who's a client of mine, a 400 crore company. He tells me that, Sriram, salespeople, we used to monitor them from the time immemorial. I'm a salesman. He started his career with ITC, cigarette selling. He says, I used to go to the field. I have to monitor. But during lockdown, these guys are going to the farmer. These guys are going to the market, to the trade. They're doing everything. And there is no supervision. There is nobody calling them. And they're coming on Microsoft Teams from Sultanpur, from Hilsar, from Batinda, from Robertsganj, from Madhubani, in rural villages. And the employer-employee relationship has taken a different turn altogether. So if you can be that kind of an employer, and if you have that kind of employee, get into that kind of engagement. So stay safe, change. Let's together fight this COVID-19, and we have a wonderful opportunity. We can look at it as a calamity, we can look at it as a disaster, we can look at it as a danger, or we can look at it and say, hey, this is an opportunity. For me, what inspired me to write the book was, I don't want to be a passive spectator. I told myself, if something happens once in 100 years, and at that point of time, you're alive and kicking, and you're able to do something, you've got to do it. And that was the inspiration for me. Okay, so I'm going to open up the session for the question and answer. I'm going to stop sharing. This is my mobile number, this is my website, and this is my email ID. And I'm going to stop sharing. And before I stop sharing, what I would do is I would request you, I have a small request to post your review. If you like this webinar, and if you thought you got something valuable, just go to this web page, which I'm going to share in the chat box, and I would be very glad to hear something good from you. So just give me a minute as I do that, and then I open the question answer session, because I would love to maintain time. I started exactly by 4, and we are closing it exactly by 5, and keeping it for the question and answer. So I am also looking at the YouTube, as at this point in time, I would take questions even from YouTube, or I could take it from the Zoom. If anybody would like to raise their hands, they can raise their hands.
So if anybody hasn't typed their questions, feel free to ask them, unmute yourself and ask those questions. I'm sure sir will be glad to answer them.
I'll be more than glad to answer. Even in YouTube audience, you can feel free to ask those questions. Not an issue at all.
So I have one question.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Pratik.
Yeah. How do we identify that change, right? Or identify that it's time to change or make those small changes. You spoke about Walmart, right? And how it identified that okay, this is affecting us badly. People might not come into the stores, or it'll be difficult to get people into the stores in those volumes. And they got an app developed, spoken about on different forums. That app, which I read about, they identified it, right? Like
Yeah,
somebody over there identified it, that okay, this is the need of the hour.
yeah.
A lot of times organizations such as ours, right? I mean, I'm not saying in terms of big or small, but we're just so preoccupied with the issues that already plague us. Most often than not, it'll either be about stock, supply chain, or getting money collected from the market, that we seldom have time to think about making these necessary changes that will impact or benefit us in the long run, because we're so worried about the short term.
Right.
How do we
Pratik,
identify?
I think, Pratik, few things I'll have to share. Number one is look at the Medica hospital. Even I was the one who told right in the second week of February that, touchless, everything has to go touchless once I read about the COVID-19. And Medica hospital was able to identify that. So that, number one, you got to be networked. You got to be networked very well. And if you have partners in the business, there is one person who can take care of the short term, but there's another person who can look at, being networked, get information everywhere. So being networked is one. Number two is how much time are you working on the business and how much time are you working in the business? If 24/7, if you're working in the business, you will never be in a position to find an answer for these questions. You got to work on the business. And number three, do you have a mentor? And because normally mentors are those who can point the directions. Mentors can be the people who can make you think, because it's not somebody who has to tell you this idea. It is to somebody has to direct you to think in that direction. So now you started thinking now, because the question has come because you started thinking. Walmart had done that. Now UPL had done that. So now the very fact that this session you're asking how itself, you'll find the answer. But for that, you will have to work on your business and not all the time work in the business.
Thank you.
My pleasure, Pratik. Anybody else? I'm hearing few things from YouTube. Right, sir. Very happy to hear your eloquence. Thank you very much, sir. Wonderful session, relevant examples. Excellent session. Insightful inputs, change mindset and change faster. Okay. Any other question? If no questions are there, then I think, what's your advice for the, I'm not able to see. What's your advice for the employees to tide over this crisis? See, for employees, I think it is a time to actually stay more loyal to the company, which is very critical. They have to look at it as a family. They can't, from the entrepreneur side, I've said, also employees need to look at it as, they have to look at it as I'm working for a family and a community, and to be united. I've heard some entrepreneurs telling me also, when I announced the 25% salary cut, people are saying, oh my God, what will happen? It is only because they don't feel like a community. But there are some other, in fact, I'll tell you my example. My driver came to me and said, in the month of April, he came and said, sir, I want only this much salary because I have to pay this much for the room and other things. Rest, whenever you have got money, you can give me. Now, this is the kind of employee mindset needs to be. And you think what I did? In fact, I'll give you the figure also.
Sorry, I think sir was asking about employer.
Employee, I think.
Employer.
1 minute. What is your advice for the employers? Okay, yeah. Employers I've already said. So employers, number one, will have to look at what are the changes they have to bring about in the mindset. Number two, they'll have to redefine the credit terms. They can't be operating in the old credit terms with least profit and maximum credit. That cannot be done. Look at the customer base where the trend is showing that these businesses are going to get back to feet faster and get those as the customer. Then make employees a part of the team, part of the family, make them understand and be empathetic. This is not the time to shout at them. This is not the time to give them insecurity. Even if you have to lay them off, you will have to adopt the method which I talked about the CEO and the general manager was doing. Unfortunately, I'm not able to name the company. It was coming out. So my friend who's a CEO of a company in the GM, what they had done this Tuesday, I think that is what needs to be done. Change, communicate to the employees, change fast, catch the trend, move with the trend, work on your credit, and work on the margins. These are the main things need to be done. I hope I've answered the question. Sorry, I thought you were asking about the employers. Need for networking is highlighted very well because you see, your net worth depends upon your network. How well your net is two things which are very important at this point in time. Why is it that 73% of CEOs of Fortune 500 companies have coaches and mentors? When you want to tide over these kind of situations, you need coaches and mentors. You need somebody to ask those kind of questions which need to be asked. And number two, you need support. You need three types of networks. You need information network, you need support network, and you need business network, which is basically exactly what I say. What is the kind of business to get business, to open doors for relationship marketing? You need these. I will just type in the chat box so that it becomes easy. You need information network. You need support network. And you need business network. I sent it to my webinar. If they can actually share this with others, it will be great. Because it was coming as privately. So 3 networks I talked about. Yes. Information network is about those people who can give you the information regarding what's happening in the industry, where trends are moving. They can catch the trend. There are people who have access to a lot of information. Then support network is when you need help, when you need somebody to negotiate on behalf of you, you need an idea, you need some legal advice, you need to have a relationship network. And third is a business network where they can open doors for you through word of mouth marketing and connect you to people who can give you business and referrals. Those are the 3 networks you need to be involved with. What's your advice on the startup started just before COVID with limited funds? See, startups, I think the biggest advice would be startups traditionally for a very long time have been looking for 2-3 things. One, they would have an idea, they would have an app, and number 3, they would be scouting for investors. These are the 3 things which they've been doing. On the contrary, the first thing where they need to start is business begins when you find a customer. Business grows when you grow your customer base. So startups' first thought process should be, who are my target market? How do I access my target market? What help do I need to develop the business? And how do I develop that community? Number 1. Number 2, what innovation can I bring in? What is that which is there, which is not there in the market, which would be required, and produce those things. Things like things like what Steve Jobs used to talk about. I never hire a market researcher because I don't want to ask the customer what you want. It's my job to figure out what the customer wants even before the customer realizes it and brings it and gives it to him. And that's what made Apple an Apple. I hope I've answered your question. What's your advice to start up with just limited funds? And just looking for only funding, PE and venture capital is not the way to go, Mr. Murali Krishna Sagi. I think I've answered your question. Is there any benefit for traders in MSME? So are traders part of MSME itself, which I don't think so. Traders are not part of MSME. So they only get the existing loans and some COVID loans are available. Mudra funding is available. Those are the only things which are available, but you can talk to the bankers regarding that too, because according to my knowledge, traders do not come under MSME. I think Raghuram Natarajan is nodding his head, so maybe he might be having an idea. 1 second, let me just unmute. Mr. Natarajan, yeah.
Traders don't come under MSME. You need to have some kind of manufacturing. So if you're manufacturing something and then you're also doing a part of it as a trading, then yes, but otherwise it's not in the scope of MSME.
Exactly. So, Mr. Rajat, I think I've answered the question. Is there any other question on the YouTube? Any question on the Zoom? Okay. If you have less questions, I have 3 things. I don't know which is applicable. 1, you have understood everything what I said. Or number 2, you have not understood anything what I spoke. Or number 3, whatever I spoke, you were completely unfamiliar. It was nothing to, it was Greek and Latin. Okay. I hope it was the first one. Yeah. So I guess we do not have much questions, and then if the organizers think it's already 5:12, if they feel that it's probably time to close, I think we can probably close the session. Or anybody wants to say anything, feedback, I would be more than glad to hear. So how do we take it forward? I think it'll be better for the.
On behalf of Rata Bangalore, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you, sir, for enlightening us. I'm certain we fall in option number 1. We've understood most of it. And I'm sure all of us in this audience are smart enough people to understand what you said. And that's why there are no questions. At least I wish to believe so. Because I think you were very eloquent and crystal clear with what you wanted to communicate. And I'm sure all of us will go back richer in terms of knowledge. Again, I'd like to emphasize on the fact that most of us here are on the left side of comfortable today. And we need to take that uncomfortable journey to become more comfortable in the future. And I'd like to take this opportunity again to thank you for showing us that, yeah, we are on the left side of comfortable and we need to get on the right side as soon as possible. And maybe this is the jolt that all of us needed to ensure that we can take our businesses and keep growing them from strength to strength. I think it was really fantastic that you gave us really relevant examples about companies and organizations that have faced this challenge bravely and come out much stronger. And I'm certain that all of us will do the same. Because I think all of us over here are capable enough to make those changes, to be a little uncomfortable for some time so that we are very comfortable in the near future. Once again, thank you everybody for attending this event. I hope all of y'all are richer with experience and knowledge and information to take ahead and are motivated to do those new things to make your businesses more successful. Thanks so much, sir. Thank you so much for doing this and taking time out for us.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure. Thank you, Rata, and all the members in Zoom and all the members in the YouTube. It's my pleasure to have addressed all of you today. And I really hope that we find some good references to move from this no reference point. Thank you very much. So I'm taking leave of this room, and thank you very much. Wishing all of us a very safe time and awesome future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Good day. Good evening, everybody.